Many gardeners have been taught that soil fertility depends on fertilizers. Bags of synthetic chemicals promising bigger harvests and greener leaves. Yet history and practical experience tell a different story. Long before modern fertilizers, farmers and homesteaders managed to grow abundant crops in nutrient-depleted soils using simple, natural techniques. The secret was not in adding chemicals, but in harnessing the power of life within the soil itself. Understanding this principle is transformative. It allows you to supercharge your garden soil in a sustainable, cost-effective way, while creating an ecosystem that continues to thrive year after year. Soil health comes from life, not just nutrients. Plants require nutrients, yes, but the form those nutrients take is critical. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium and micronutrients are abundant in many soils, yet unavailable if the microbial ecosystem isn't active. For centuries, gardeners relied on compost cover crops and organic amendments to feed the microbes first. Healthy soil biology breaks down organic matter, unlocking nutrients in forms that plants can absorb directly. This is why two gardens with the same fertilizer program can produce drastically different results. Biology, not chemistry, determines productivity. In practical terms, this means that improving soil is less about feeding the plant and more about feeding the soil ecosystem that sustains it. One way to apply this principle is to focus on compost and organic matter. I began layering kitchen scraps, fallen leaves and yard clippings into beds every month. Over time, the soil became darker, more crumbly and noticeably alive. Earthworms, beetles and beneficial fungi flourished, and within a single growing season, plants responded with stronger stems and larger fruit. Now, this approach really works because you are building the soil's nutrient processing capacity, not just dumping isolated minerals into it. Another historical technique that, modern gardeners often overlook is the use of cover crops. Farmers in the early 20th century routinely planted legumes, buckwheat or rye between main crops. These plants enrich the soil in multiple ways. Legumes, for example, host nitrogen-fixing bacteria in their roots, directly converting atmospheric nitrogen into forms plants can use. Other cover crops suppress weeds, reduce erosion, and add organic matter when tilled back into the soil. For modern gardens, even small plots benefit from this principle. Plant a fast-growing legume or clover in empty beds during the off-season. By the time spring arrives, you've created a living mulch, replenished the soil and improved fertility naturally. The practical application is straightforward. Sow a cover crop in bare beds after harvest. Once established, mow or cut it down, leaving the biomass on the soil surface or, lightly incorporating it into the topsoil. Over the course of several weeks, microbial activity quietly breaks down the material, releasing nutrients gradually and, at the same time, improving the soil structure. This method really does mirror the practices of historical farmers, folks who had no access to chemical fertilizers, yet they managed to maintain productive, sustainable land for decades on end. Building on the concept of feeding soil biology, compost teas and microbial inoculants are, well, tools that help to magnify these natural processes even further. Historically, farmers sometimes steeped manure or plant material in water and applied it to crops, unknowingly cultivating beneficial microorganisms. Today, gardeners can, replicate and refine this practice. Compost tea, for example, provides a liquid feed that's rich in active bacteria and fungi, which immediately improve nutrient availability. When applied to both soil and foliage, these teas really do enhance growth, increase disease resistance, and make previously locked nutrients accessible to plants. The practical steps are simple, really. Brew a batch of compost tea by steeping well-aged compost in water for 24 to 48 hours, and if you like, you can aerate the liquid to give microbial activity a bit of a boost. Dilute the tea and water it onto your beds, or just pour it into containers for potted plants. The effect is subtle at first, but it's cumulative. Soil texture improves, microbial diversity increases, and nutrient cycling, well, it accelerates over time. Unlike synthetic fertilizers, this method improves both soil fertility and plant resilience simultaneously. Finally, the principle of layering organic matter cannot be overstated. Mulching with leaves, straw, grass clippings, or even shredded cardboard creates a slow-release system for nutrients while conserving moisture and reducing erosion. Historically, farmers and gardeners practiced sheet mulching for decades, turning waste into fertility. Each layer feeds microbes, which then make nutrients available to plants. This method also prevents nutrient leaching during heavy rains, something synthetic fertilizers often fail to do, resulting in wasted resources and environmental harm. So, here's a practical example. What I do is, I cover my garden beds with a layer of leaves and grass clippings about 2 to 3 inches thick in the autumn. By the time spring arrives, those layers have partially decomposed, the soil is nice and crumbly, and, honestly, the first seedlings just thrive without needing any extra fertilizer. Over the years, you'll notice the beds almost look after themselves, really. They become self-sustaining, and you'll only need to make minor amendments and manage the water a bit. Supercharging your garden soil isn't about chasing after the latest chemical fertilizer or splashing out on expensive amendments. It's truly about understanding and supporting the living system right beneath your feet. Compost, cover crops, compost teas, and layered organic matter, they really do unlock the soil's natural potential. These practices create fertile, resilient gardens that just keep getting better as the years go by. This isn't just theory. It's a method that's been used for centuries, honestly, proven by generations of gardeners who managed to maintain productivity without ever relying on synthetic inputs. For more historically grounded, practical and sustainable gardening insights, do subscribe to Hydrahaven and, well, share this video with your fellow enthusiasts. Transform your soil, feed the life within it, and watch your garden thrive naturally, year after year.